I'd like to call the Planning Commission of the town of Chincoteague to order. Asking all to stand for the invitation, pledge of allegiance.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for your blessings, Lord, your continued blessings upon this town, Lord, the employees, Lord, and our citizens, Lord. And Lord, we'd be remorse if we didn't have a special prayer this evening for those individuals in Israel who were attacked by the terrorist group Hamas. Lord, we just ask for continued protection with that country, Lord, and Lord, let peace be drawn. And Lord, we just ask that you continue to use us as stewards of the various committees in the town, Lord, to be good stewards, Lord, and do those things in accordance with your will and your direction. First, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. Do we have a list? At this point in time, I would like to open the public participation portion of our meeting. And Tina Zoller, if you would come and state your name and your address.
Hi, I'm Tina Zoller. I live at 3454 Main Street. I really am just briefly going to say, probably speaking to the choir at the Planning Commission, that I think the town of Chincoteague really needs a good planner. The position was eliminated, and I don't think it's serving us well to not have a planner. It's impossible if you live on Main Street not to notice the increase in traffic. The developments at both the south end of the island and also by the bridge, in my opinion, are way too dense for the property that they're on. And I'm going to call out Inlet View. Inlet View was probably to very few people's taste. However, the people that lived in Inlet View, although they were not affluent, they were members of our community. They were permanent members of our community. Most of them had permanent campsites. So it wasn't a bunch of transients in and out, up and down Main Street all the time, which is what we have now. And yes, it's prettier, and hopefully with better sewage. But I think we're going to lose our community, which is what a town is for. It's what we wanted to live in, is a community, not a bunch of hotels and rental properties, Airbnbs, and back and forth trailers past our house every day. So I'm just going to say it again. I think we really could use a planner. I think it would be a really good thing for us to spend some money on. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Rob Tyler?
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. I'll echo what this lady said. Chincoteague's our home, and we love it here dearly. But in regards to the plan, the overall plan, I've had some questions, particularly now that Hampton Road Sanitation Department is providing sewage services on the island. What is the long-term plan? How is that going to be leveraged? Is this just a one-off, and we're going to continue on with the localized septic systems for residences, or we're going to step up and modernize the entire septic system on the island? I know there's a route planned. I think it's perhaps the first step, but I'd like a little insight on where we're going with this, and I thought the Planning Commission may be able to offer that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any place I should look in particular, or is it too early in the stages for that?
We'll probably discuss it in the basis of our meeting.
Okay.
I'll bring that subject up. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And Greg Summers?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Thanks for letting me speak a couple minutes. I'll be real brief. My name's Craig Summers, 6286 Smith Street. I live adjacent to the new park, the Brianna Park. My house sits here, a vacant lot here, and another house. So there's just two houses, and then you go around the corner to those 6 apartments in that apartment building back there. The lot next to me apparently is zoned R, mixed use. I'm not sure what it is. And I spoke with Mr. Tolbert a couple of times about this. There's a tree cutting service being operated there. They have all kinds of big equipment, big trucks. They couldn't park there this winter because they made such a mess, so they parked elsewhere for the winter. So the lot is dried up now, so they're back. And we've been dealing with this for a while, my wife and I. 2 houses on that street and then the apartments. And then there's this loud tree cutting service. Now, I've got nothing against the guys at all. They're nice. We've talked. We're friendly and all, so it's not anything personal. But the other morning, 7 o'clock or so, thereabouts, maybe later than that, 7:30, they start grinding these big stumps that they've cut down. They cut the trees down. They bring the stumps back to this lot. They don't take them to the dump or wherever they take them. So now there's a huge pile of stumps there. The gentleman tore down a shed at one of his projects. He brought the wood over to the lot. There's a dumpster, a couple big trucks, a boat. Now cars are starting to park there. So basically, it's a landfill. Essentially, he parks his stuff there and brings his cuttings back to the lot, and then he starts grinding these stumps 7:30 or so in the morning. Now, literally, my house is about. It can't be more than 30 feet from where they're grinding these stumps. And these are huge stumps. They're trying to grind them down. I guess he's now trying to get rid of that pile. But there hasn't been a commercial, the mixed use, hasn't been anything commercial there for, from what I'm told, 40 or 50 or 60 years. I don't know how long it's been. The house over here used to be a auto repair shop, I understand. Closed a long time ago. So now it's a gentleman living here and his family are living there. So it's a residential neighborhood. And we're operating this business, this loud construction type business on the lot. The part of Smith Street that we live on is a private road. It's not a public road. I was told when we moved there it's called Smith Street Extended because it's not a public road. The town paved it. I was hoping there would be some speed bumps put in there because there are a lot of kids playing at that playground that you all built, which was great. They're playing basketball, they're hanging out. It's a nice place for them kids to hang out. A few speed bumps there would have slowed the traffic down. Since it's paved, cars have a tendency to pick their speed up going up there. Not pointing fingers at anybody, but the town couldn't put the speed bumps because it's private property. Okay, no problem. That's not really why I'm here. The issue is the lot and their trucks, and they turn around. Once in a while, they'll pull onto the basketball court that was just built. Sometimes they'd swing wide. Not too often, but they do. You see the tire tracks there. But it's a neighborhood. It's like putting it at your neighbor's house in his backyard. He's going to grind these big stumps up at 7:30 in the morning and have the tractors fire their equipment up early in the morning, I guess, to get ready to do their day. So I was requesting that it be rezoned back to nothing but residential. Having this kind of business there is disturbing, to say the least. So, thank you for your time. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else for the public participation portion of our meeting? Having said that, I close that portion of our meeting. I would ask for the adoption of the agenda. Any corrections or additions to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Motion?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So moved. Approval of our minutes from our last meeting. Any additions or changes, corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as is.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So moved. First item on our agenda is a review of the houseboat floating structure issue, which was raised at our last meeting, which was generated by the concern as to we really have no regulations in place or ordinance to address the possibility of proliferation of these units. So, Mr. Talbot, can we come up with a?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Mark and I came up with a proposed or a sample ordinance just to start the conversation, not to say that it is in its final form or even near that, but just to start the conversation. The object here is to, as you said, put some limitations on liveaboard vessels and houseboats, primarily so that they could not be rented or leased. I can see Airbnb and Verbo signs advertising houseboats for sale or for lease as short-term rentals, which is not desirable. I think most people would agree. So basically, we came up with a sample ordinance that allows, of course, if you have a private houseboat and you want to dock it at your private dock, you can live aboard it for short periods of time. And you can have a houseboat or a liveaboard vessel that you can also rent if you follow all the proper procedures, but that will only be allowed, according to the sample ordinance, only allows that in a commercial marina. So you could not take a private pier and purchase 5 liveaboard vessels or houseboats and put them on Airbnb and just start using them as short-term rentals. That was the object of this. If you don't mind, I'll go through this.
Yeah, if you would, please.
Sure. First, we took and we put a few extra definitions in there, and these are in addition to the original definitions. By the way, this section will fit into the current zoning ordinance under section H, which is right after in the same section as cottages and things like that. And we added a few definitions. The first one being a houseboat, meaning a structure or facility floating or non-floating, or on or in any waterway, including but not limited to so-called liveaboards, which is designated and/or fitted out to be used as living quarters or personal or commercial overnight accommodations for one or more persons, whether permanent or seasonal, and whether owned or leased, rented, or licensed to the user. And I'm going to take just a second and put that on the board so other folks can see what we're looking at. If you'll bear with me. So there's the definitions. Second, liveaboard, and of course a houseboat is not the only vessel that can be lived aboard. So the second definition is a broad term called liveaboard. It's a common term in the boating community. It means any vessel on any waterway which has been outfitted to include living quarters either on a permanent or temporary basis. And the third definition that's in addition to the zoning definition is transient, which means to occupy for less than 30 consecutive days. So regulating the use and occupancy of houseboats or houseboat occupancy permits. No houseboat or liveaboard may be used for habitation on a permanent basis or for more than 30 consecutive days in any instance, whether it be rented or whether it be private. The owner of a houseboat or liveaboard, with respect to number A above, may use and occupy such vessel or structure for habitation on his or her private property or in a commercial marina. A houseboat or liveaboard may be moored at the owner's private dock or private marina to the extent permitted by law if all of the following requirements are met. Number 1 would be the houseboat or liveaboard is equipped with one of the following: an operable Coast Guard certified marine sanitation device or any sewage system approved by the Virginia Department of Health. 2, the houseboat or liveaboard is capable of and outfitted for self-propelled navigation. And that's important because as we can see, some of the things we call houseboats that we have here currently don't have any means of propulsion or navigation. So that's important to us. We think otherwise we're just going to be erecting boxes on top of monitors and rafts or whatever you call them on the boat and putting them in the water.
Could you update the screens?
I'm sorry?
Roll it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We want to read them all.
I got you. I'm sorry. There you go. Houseboat, number 2, the houseboat or liveaboard is capable, we went through that, I'm sorry. Number 3, the houseboat or liveaboard does not obstruct navigation. And 4, the houseboat or liveaboard is moored in compliance with all applicable state and federal laws. And there's many more that apply to vessels on the open water. B, no person shall use, occupy, permit the use or occupancy of a houseboat or liveaboard for habitation for any length of time within town limits by renting, leasing, subletting, licensing, or otherwise offering, either permanently or on a temporary basis, except if such vessel or structure is located within a legal commercial marina operated pursuant to the town zoning ordinance. The town zoning ordinance identifies 2 types of marinas. A commercial marina, which offers services such as fuel and repairs and things like that, or a private marina, which is basically, I think, was it neighborhood marina, Mark? They call it a neighborhood marina. If you own it and you use it for docking your boats, I can think of one right up in Pawnee Island right now that's owned by the residents. Except if such vessel or structure is located within a legal commercial marina operated pursuant to the town zoning ordinance, any use or occupancy of a houseboat or liveaboard for habitation by renting, leasing, subletting, licensing, or otherwise offering shall be on a transient basis only, which means less than 30 days. And that is consistent with short-term rentals, which are rental houses that we have on the island, all over the island. They're short-term rentals. It's not more than 30 days. A houseboat or liveaboard may be moored in a commercial marina if all of the following requirements are met. The houseboat or liveaboard is equipped with one of the following: an operable Coast Guard certified marine sanitation device, any sewage system approved by the Virginia Department of Health, or a legal connection to a permitted public sewer system. The houseboat or liveaboard is capable of and outfitted for self-propelled navigation. The houseboat or liveaboard is moored in compliance with all applicable state and federal laws. Now that covers vessels which are moored to docks and marinas. There's also a case in which you can anchor a vessel. Okay, so we address that too. It's a little bit more liberal. But a houseboat or liveaboard may be anchored in a waterway for up to 30 consecutive days if all of the following requirements are met. 1. A houseboat or liveaboard is equipped with one of the following: an operable Coast Guard certified marine sanitation device. B. A self-contained portable toilet or other onboard public portable sewage reception system that prevents the overboard discharge of treated or untreated excrement, sewage, or other waste matter or contaminant of any kind. 2. The houseboat or liveaboard is capable of and outfitted for self-propelled navigation. 3. The houseboat or liveaboard does not obstruct navigation and anchor in the middle of a channel. 4. The houseboat or liveaboard is moored in compliance with all applicable state and federal laws, including the displaying of lights as prescribed by federal and state laws, rules, and regulations regarding anchor lights in inland waters. And then the last section is violations. Basically, it says that every day is a continued violation is a separate offense. It's punishable by a fine up to including $300 per violation. So that's $300 a day. And again, we have to do some more research and make sure that everything that we have in here is in perfect compliance with state law. But I will say that in my research of the state law, there's very little said about houseboats or liveaboard vessels, unlike some other states that have a bigger problem than apparently Virginia does, like in Florida and Massachusetts. Believe it or not, Massachusetts and some of the western states who have larger lakes had really extensive regulations on houseboats. So that's a conversation starter. That kind of gets done what we wanted to accomplish, but it could certainly be tweaked and managed a little bit.
Any comments from the commissioners?
No, my concern was gonna be the morning or the anchoring, but I think that addressed it pretty good.
Mark, am I correct, or Mike, Hampton Roads or Virginia Beach is outlawed, or does not permit any houseboats?
I've reviewed Virginia Beach's code, and I did not see where Virginia Beach had a whole lot on this subject. I went there on purpose.
Yeah, I didn't see nothing on there.
Yeah, they
One of the communities down there absolutely disapproves use of houseboats. I don't know whether it's Hampton Roads or
It wasn't Virginia Beach. I thought, of course, Virginia Beach being as much shoreline as they have, I thought surely that they would have had something on it, but I did
Yeah.
not see. And they're on Municode as well, so it's easy to search that on Municode, and I
that's
did
what
not see.
I was trying to do with the other, the Muni codes, good source.
Right.
It's pretty comprehensive.
I would also add that, and this is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman, but it's been the custom of the Planning Commission to take up something new, to let it sit for at least 30 days prior to taking any action. So this is
No, I think your opening comments were you'd like to tweak it some more.
yes,
So,
and we certainly would like input from the commissioners
yeah.
and the public.
okay. I appreciate it.
Excuse me, how does this affect, or does it affect what's already here?
And no matter what we did, what's already here is grandfathered. So that wouldn't matter at all.
Yeah.
And there's at least one instance other than the new development at Captain Bob's where something exists which would not be in compliance with this, but it would be grandfathered at this point, no matter what you did. But I think the object, what we've discussed before, the object of this is we didn't want 4 or 5 houseboats appearing over the winter and then going for rent on Airbnb or Vrbo the next spring.
In
you
the
know.
spring.
Right.
And all of a sudden, that's all you see dotting the shoreline.
Yeah, right.
Nor do you want, and I think if you look at this a little closer, what Steve was talking about, taking a boat off and anchoring it, we didn't prevent, the ordinance does not prevent someone from renting a houseboat to a person, and they could take it out and more, just like a boat rental from, just like you rent a boat from Snow Harbor or somewhere and take it for the day. It does not prevent that.
Mm-hmm.
But it does, if you're gonna tie up somewhere, but it doesn't allow you to rent it.
Yeah. Because the first time I saw all of that, the way it is now, first thing I thought of was storm.
And
this is.
when you do the research on this, you see a lot of municipalities have houseboat marinas. They call them houseboat marinas, and you get a permit. And there's standards on how close they can be, and how big the walkways have to be, where railings have to be, and there's standards for these houseboat marinas. And they're in quite a few communities.
In Seattle, Washington has a huge one.
Right.
We've been out there and
Which doesn't make it a great idea,
Yeah.
but.
Exactly.
no,
Yeah,
I mean, they have multi-story houseboats.
yes.
There was a
Well, they
couple-
call them houseboats, but they're,
There was a couple references in the sample ordinances I read that referenced multi-story.
yeah.
Now, the other one you're talking about, is that the one by Reggie's?
Yes.
Now, is that on his property or?
I'm not sure. It's the only other one I'm aware of
Yes.
at this time.
Yeah, that's all. I was
Okay.
just wondering, yeah.
The multi-story thing hadn't even occurred to me, of course, we've all seen them. Is that something that needs to be, or could that be something that would be
Could
written
be.
into the ordinance?
It could be, and that would be something that we put into the definitions.
Yeah.
Could not be more than one story. And we saw the,
Yeah.
I'll try to find the thing, Mark. found, because he found a very good paper on this, and it had some pictures that were hilarious.
I mean, it's available.
It's available. Give me just a second. I'll pull it up for you.
I'm sure there's a commercial industry that's prepared to deliver these kinds of units.
There is. Actually, the company that did Cat Box is a company that does out of Florida.
Well, out in Lake Mead and even in Tennessee, there's a couple of lakes in there that it's quite a large business of running houseboats.
There you can see
That's one of the.
Yeah.
you can see one of the
Is that a
bottom,
redneck houseboat?
the bottom picture there. Yeah, that's a mobile home on an old fishing boat. That's the extremes, and the ones that are built for this is regular houseboat navigation in the middle. The one on top is the ones you see that are kind of built on the shore on floats, and they just put them in the water and pull them over in time to the dock, and that's where they stay. So there's no visible means of propulsion or navigation with that top one on the top. Whereas the one in the middle is what you traditionally would think of a houseboat.
From a safety concern, I guess one of the things that struck me was the proximity we have to the ocean and the type of tidal waters that we have, and the potential for storm. When hurricanes are coming, and those of us that are wise enough pull the boats out of the water.
Right.
What do you do with these houseboats? Either move them or. I don't know how you would address that. I guess it's up to the owners.
If they had the room on land to put the houseboats,
They would put it over there, right?
And again, I think we all realize that with the property values being what they are, this would
Right.
be a way of
I agree.
making vacation cottages
I
or
agree.
a vacation home without really
No
having
question.
to purchase any property. So.
Mr. Chairman, I'll email a copy of the sample ordinance to David and Bob so they can review it too. And
Good. I appreciate that.
do that. That way we can look at it for 30 days and make changes to it and give us suggestions. And
Excellent. Next item on our agenda is the comprehensive plan. Before we get to that, though, I noticed you put out a letter on the feather flags, to the commercial folks,
that was that rigged a while ago.
back in June.
Yes.
Was that effective
Yes.
to the extent that it
Yes.
got what you needed?
I think so.
I also noticed that only is addressing an ordinance on flags, which apparently addresses also feather flags. But I didn't see that until Friday, and of course, there's nobody in the only office down there. So if you could, maybe you could contact them,
Are they on YouTube?
excuse me, and get a copy of their proposed ordinance to see
See what they got. Okay.
see what they've got to offer, because, we want to make sure that it's effective, what we have, so. As far as a review of the comprehensive plan, I just want to make a few comments relevant to some of the items that, in addressing our prior comprehensive plans, we talked about the Maddox traffic flow as an issue from the standpoint of, is there corrective actions we might take? There was some concerns expressed on our electric grid, our service assurance. I must say, coming from another area years ago, we've been here a long time, that our ANEC folks do a fantastic job. We are so vulnerable to outages down here. But if we get a 15-minute outage, everybody gets up, and it's resolved that quickly, and I bless those folks. They have their act together. Coming from a utility that I spent 40 years working for, I must say their maintenance, their planning, and their continuing upkeep of their facilities is first rate. It really is. So hats off to the ANEC. A couple of the other things was also our our neighbor across the bay there, Wallops Island, has become more than just the Navy base and NASA. It's now really a commercial launch site, and more is going on there. And I would hope, and I'll talk to Bob, that make sure that within our comprehensive plan, we have what's needed to continue the cooperative level that we've been experiencing in the past. So, water system review, there was concerns back in 2012, 2016, expressed the adequacy of the sizing. I would hope that with the expansion of more and more folks coming and the water usage going, I would expect that the RV park down in South End is going to use more water than Inlet View did, just by the fact that the transient occupancy tax folks seem to use more water than those who just flush their toilet once a day or twice a day, whatever. So that's a concern, And the south end of development was an issue back in 16, and it's been expressed tonight. I can say for firsthand, because I have family that lives on South Main Street, that it's incredible the amount of traffic that goes back and forth on that street. That is a major highway now. It used to be busy. A lot of folks going to Tom's Cove would use Ridge Road. These folks don't use Ridge Road. They just use Main Street. And the volume of traffic has been extraordinarily heavy. And again, it's not just little pickup trucks with trailers on the back. It's these big RVs, which I have a son-in-law who has one, so I know it. It's of a concern. It's a major concern. I'm glad the town's taken the initiative and put some signs down there to slow the speed down to 25, or hopefully. It doesn't always work. Unfortunately, we don't have the budget to put a police officer down there, but he could probably earn his keep writing tickets with the amount of speeders that get down there. But South End is still a concern because there's still further development, I believe, coming. Do we have a permit request?
Not yet.
But it seems like they've got that piece of ground pretty well graded and prepped for whatever might be coming there. So another area that we had spoke about and concerns was our tidal and surface water issues. Again, we've been blessed. We've been fortunate that the storms themselves have not inundated us. But it seems to me we got an awful lot of high tides recently. And again, our stormwater capability is zero at high tide. We can't expel it. So I don't have the answers to it, but I would raise the concern that it exists. Also, we haven't had a major experience with the bridge at this point in time, but that potential still exists to cut us off, really. So there's some of the, and also one, I don't know whether Mike would appreciate this one or not, but the town complex, we've talked about a rebuild or restore or update, or are there issues within the town complex that need to be addressed? Do we have enough maintenance buildings, et cetera?
You know, that the municipal center?
Yeah, that's really the town complex. What I'm talking about is the governmental complex here.
I mean, I can't see where the one area of expansion that we would need, or the most critical, would be the police department. They're kind of cramped in there, but it's fairly simple to, if you have the money to.
Or even kitchen facilities for them.
Well, all the general government office and the police department both have kitchenettes type things. They have sinks and refrigerators and microwaves. And, we don't do any heavy cooking.
No.
Now, Public Works can go back there and actually live there for a while. They have everything but beds. And those
Well,
guys,
they might have used them in the past.
they have, I know for a fact that during storms or snows,
That biggie.
they have stayed back there, a few of them.
Yeah.
But it's not unusual to go back there and at this time of year and see them cooking marsh hens for dinner or something like that for lunch, or clam chowder or something like that.
Good for
They
them.
like to do that kind of thing. They'll have venison over the winter.
Well, that's an earned perk.
Oh yeah,
So-
yeah.
so
It's a tight group. They do well together.
But they were some of the concerns relevant to the comprehensive plan, and to address some of the items that our public addressed tonight. I would have to look at the zoning in particular for Smith Street. I can understand what you're experiencing. I don't know whether it's the same young man who worked for Mr. Howard, who is now running the business back in there, but the shredders alone are loud. I mean, when you're using that saw thing, and I don't know whether, is that commercial?
No.
No.
I'm pulling the zoning up for you now.
Then I would think it's not appropriate for a home occupation. It's appropriate for him to run his business as a home
Off Church
occupation
Street
out
is
there.
commercial. Did they keep working after Monday?
Doesn't work every day.
You mean the grinder?
The grinder.
No, sir, chainsaws.
Because I went by and asked them to stop, and told them they couldn't work on the site and to not haul the material to the site, and
That afternoon, they did for a little bit, just a little bit, and then
Okay.
went to chainsaws.
But then does he use the shredder for the s'more stuff?
Yes, sir, yeah, you mean that,
I mean, and after I went there after lunch, by lunchtime,
yeah, for a little bit in the afternoon, about 5 o'clock, he did a little bit, not very long, maybe 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But the next day, they went for chainsaws to cut those stumps up. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this property, and you see it you see Smith Street right in this area. This is the piece of property I think we're talking about. It's owned R3, which is mixed use residential.
Well, again, it's appropriate to have a home occupancy out of there, but I don't know about to have a full blast operational thing. I mean, we've had experience in the past where fellows would do outboard motorboat repair in residential areas, and we put a stop to that.
we addressed it Monday. We'll do a follow-up on it to see what's going on.
Okay. And I would have to agree that a planner would be very, very beneficial for, that's my comments. I don't know what the commissioners feel, but Mr. Talbot has a big job managing the town. If you've seen our budget and the increase in our budget from 15 years ago to today, the budget reflects also the workload and the responsibility level of the manager. I mean, Mark has his hands full. If you read his monthly report of how many permits he issues and the dollar value that he gains, he's earning his salary, that's for sure, and which means that he don't have a heck of a lot of time to spend. We as citizens try to come up with ideas, express our concerns. We generate our ideas from the public and comments from them, in general, like this evening. Also, people stop us on the street if they know us and drop dimes, if you will. But again, we don't have the expertise or the wherewithal and to address some of the issues that might be addressed through a Getting a planner is something different than wanting a planner. Northampton County has been advertising for a planner for a year or more, I guess, quite some time, and they're still looking, so it's a nice to have, whether we get one or not. I just hope we do. So that's my comments. Any other comments relevant to our comprehensive plan or the comments that were made by our public this evening?
I'm good.
Having none, I'll ask for any announcements or comments on general issues. Entertain.
Mr. Chairman, did you want to address Mr. Todd's questions of where sewage is going?
Oh, yeah, I apologize. Yeah, and Mike is the fellow that'll address it, so.
And I think, Robert, you just wanted to know the status, what we're going,
Yeah,
where we're headed.
Where we're headed.
In 2008, somewhere in that neighborhood, the town formed a committee to study sewage once again, and they've been doing it intermittently since the 70s. In 2008, there were 5 of us on the committee. And we hired a consultant, actually, and did some work on this. The final report is in a loose leaf about that thick. That was issued in 2013, which was presented to the council, and it recommended that we implement sewage in stages, starting with commercial and working through to the whole island, but done in stages. And one of the big reasons for that was that there was resistance from homeowners at the time, and there's still going to be a lot of resistance from homeowners at the time of having to pay to hook up and pay a monthly fee to dispose of sewage or dispose of waste when they typically put it in a hole in the ground. It doesn't cost anything. And there's still going to be a lot of resistance to that. Commercial operators, and I think Steve can bear this out, are not as resistant to that because it makes it, having a sewage solution is economically beneficial to most businesses, especially restaurants, which have a much more concentrated waste than normal households. All that was recognized. The end, as I said, the end recommendation from the committee was to implement this in stages. The big question has been here since day one is, where does it go? Where does it get discharged? Back years ago, there was no HRSD that comes in and has all the expertise in the world and is kind of the big player in the game that is willing to put forth their expertise and their financial power behind getting us a solution. So this is the best position we've been in for that I ever remember, and I'm over 60 now, in order to get to work towards an end sewage solution. Currently, as you know, the town has purchased the Sunset Bay sewage plant. The reason we did that is because it comes with some extra capacity, which is not being used, but it's already approved by the DEQ. So we're getting the plant, we're getting the extra capacity or extra permit that are there. There's also an opportunity to work with the Coast Guard to add a little bit to that. And it just happened to come along at the right time where we are now an HRSD service area, all the way from the whole Eastern Shore of Virginia is an HRSD service area. So we have an opportunity to work with them and have them operate the system, which they are going to do. We have an agreement with them. We are a month, 6 weeks away from, we already own the plant. We're a month or 6 weeks away from completing the legal work to the point where we can sign the agreement and give all of this facility to HRSD, and they will operate it supposedly in perpetuity. In addition to operating that plant and providing treatment for the extra capacity that we're going to get, they are looking to increase or to get more permits and increase the capacity again. The plants that they want to put there are 65,000 gallon a day plants, and there's 2 of them, so you've got 130,000 gallons a day, which is more capacity than the permits we currently have. So they'll be working towards getting additional capacity, getting additional permits. The site that they discharge at right now at Sunset Bay, my understanding is that it can be ultimately permitted for up to 300,000 gallons a day at that site. Not saying that we get it, but ultimately that would be the ultimate or the highest capacity they would allow there. In addition to the short-term and current situation that we're in with sewage and the current extra capacity we're going to get, by the way, the capacity that we will have, the extra capacity we will have, will be offered per the 2013 report. It will be offered to commercial businesses along Main Street and Maddox Boulevard. We issued an RFP the 1st of September to 6 different engineering firms to design a collection system to go along with that extra capacity. We have to build the collection system. We intend to use our ARPA money, which we still have in the bank. We have about $2.8 million of it left, I believe. We're going to use that money to pay the engineer and also hopefully pay to a contractor to construct a collection system for the extra capacity. As I said, it will not be offered and it will not be forced on residential customers. It'll only be commercial customers. It's all voluntary. I think we'll have no problem whatsoever using that additional capacity very quickly, and we'll be looking for more. Long term, and I got this directly on a one-on-one conversation with the general manager of HRSD. HRSD has commissioned a study for the entire northern half of Accomack County. They basically, and you've been following the news, I'm sure you have, the south end of Accomack and central part of Accomack pretty much are taken care of with the Nancox plant capacity that they had. The northern end of Accomack County doesn't really have a solution. Nancox plant's going to be at capacity, and they won't have any availability for North Accomack. So HRSD has commissioned a study for northern Accomack County to see what is possible as far as a sewage solution for North Accomack, the whole northern end of the county, which of course includes Chincoteague. So the study will not only study northern Accomack County, it will also study Chincoteague. And when they identify a solution, hopefully they also identify a means to obtain that solution. That obviously is a few years down the road. But that's the status, as I know, of where we're at and where we're going.
Thank you for the update, Mr. Cole.
No problem.
One follow-on comment, if I can, is as developers seek permits for new development, is there any means to put some constraints on the noise levels that come out of those plants or the locations? It's, you see the one on that Inlet View, and that thing's bumped up right against the neighbors across the street.
I think you were here when we had at the last council meeting when we had the gentleman, the expert from HRSD here, Charles Bott, and he is truly an expert in the field, nationally recognized expert in the field. He related to you how the new equipment is much quieter. And let me stress, it doesn't have to be quieter. They could use the cheaper versions of this stuff, but HRSD goes the extra mile because they want to be good neighbors. So they put mufflers and they put enclosures around their equipment so that the noise doesn't travel any farther than it has to.
Well, I'm very confident in HRSD's capabilities and their intent. I was more, the comment was more directed at the commercial developers as they develop properties and put in these small package units. They tend to favor the cheap end, right?
Yes. I don't know of anything other than we have a noise ordinance which has just been tweaked. The noise ordinance, we redefined, the council redefined night and day as it relates to the hours in which you can be noisy and not. In college we called it quiet hours. Daytime is now from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. instead of midnight. And the daytime noise allowances are higher than nighttime. So at 10 o'clock, the allowable noise goes down considerably. I think it goes down to like 65 decibels at night now, which is fairly low. So you do have to be quieter at night. And I don't see any reason why we could not enforce that on a development. Now there is a, and I've read this several times, there is a provision in the state code which allows utilities, public utilities, to violate noise ordinances, and in some industry. If it's, I would imagine if you have an industry where half the people in town working in that industry, they don't care about the noise, don't bother suing them over noise. But private developments, I did not see where that state statute covers private developments.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
I have one last question, I guess, for Mark.
Yes.
The old ice house,
Mm-hmm.
surprise, it's finally coming down.
Finally coming down. Hopefully by Thursday, should be wrapped up.
And what's the follow-up on that?
No permit's been applied for. Some discussion was that it's gonna build back another building, smaller in size, just to do maintenance on his equipment. And that's just by conversation only.
It was just such a shock when I went by the other day. Whoa, all the years that I used to go in there, and the pier was back there, the fishing.
If I could add to that, and this is an example of what the town and what the planning commission and the council has done over the years, that ice plant has been there since Mark and I were little boys. It could not be built back in that configuration today because of the updated zoning laws that we now have. So anything that they wanted to put there would necessarily have to follow new zoning ordinances, which would limit it quite a bit based on.
I just remember the ice coming out of there, go right onto the boat, because the boats were there too. So,
Right.
I mean, it was just it's almost like the bridge. It was just part of Chincoteague. And it's just, it was a shock. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. So moved. Thank you.